I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
A preliminary U.S. intelligence assessment determined that U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend only set its nuclear program back by a matter of months. That's according to 3 sources with knowledge of the matter. The classified assessment is at odds with the statements of President Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who both said that the strikes had, quote, obliterated Iran's nuclear ambitions. Trump has said the attacks were necessary to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Iran denies it is seeking such a weapon and says its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. One source said the initial assessment was not universally accepted and had generated significant disagreement. A U.S. official speaking on condition of anonymity said the U.S. did not know the extent of the damage yet. Still, the preliminary assessment indicated the strikes may not have been nearly as successful as the Trump administration has claimed. One of the sources said Iran's enriched uranium stocks had not been eliminated, and that the country's nuclear program may have been set back by only a month or two. The Pentagon disputed the notion that the damage to Iran's nuclear program was minor. In a statement provided to Reuters, Hegseth said, quote, based on everything we have seen, and I've seen it all, our bombing campaign obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. In a statement to CNN, which first reported the intelligence assessment, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the conclusion was, quote, flat out wrong.
They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like 2 kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes do strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while you have to use a certain word.
Given the 30,000 pounds of explosives and capability of those munitions, it was devastation underneath Fordo. And the amount of munitions, 6 per location, any assessment that tells you it was something otherwise is speculating with other motives. And we know that because when you actually look at the report, by the way, it was a top secret report, it was preliminary, it was low confidence. All right, so this isn't, you make assessments based on what you know.
And it said it could be very devastating, but had we not succeeded with that hit ended the war. That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now.
In its battle against Russia, Ukraine isn't just focusing its efforts on the front line, but also in places like this, Mauritania in West Africa. In what has become an increasingly global struggle, Kyiv is on a diplomatic push to win friends in Africa. It recently opened an embassy in the Mauritanian capital, Nouakchott, one of 8 set up on the continent since Russia's 2022 invasion. One of the main tools at its diplomatic disposal has been food. Under the Grain from Ukraine initiative, launched towards the end of 2022, it has sent nearly 300,000 metric tons of food aid to the continent.
Food, animal food, anything you have on your table can be from Ukraine.
At an embassy in Kinshasa, opened in 2024, Ukraine's ambassador to Congo, Vasilyan Hamyanin, said Ukraine has to, quote, be active to gain friends.
And Ukraine has a lot of things to present, a lot of things to propose, and a lot of things to get involved with on the African continent.
In Mauritania, the food aid has mostly been destined for Mbera, West Africa's largest refugee camp. It houses a soaring number of Malians fleeing violence across the border. Mali, ruled by a junta since coups in 2020 and 2021, has turned away from its traditional Western allies and embraced Russia. It employed mercenaries from the Russian Wagner group to help it battle militants and separatist rebels. Ukraine's diplomatic ambitions, however, extend beyond humanitarian aid. Amid rising tensions between Mauritania and Mali, it's also offering to train Mauritanian soldiers. That's according to Ukraine's top envoy to Africa, Maxim Subich.
Україна готова ділитися.
Ukraine is ready to share its experience in countering the threats we face here in Ukraine. And I mean, first and foremost, Wagner and similar paramilitary groups.
Very good friends of mine, across from our house. It was a family of girls, their mother and father. Yesterday, the little girl was riding a bicycle with me, a 10-year-old girl, happy and joyful. And to come here and know that she is down there, dead, is very sad.
Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's wedding will see scores of VIPs arriving in Venice for 3 days of celebrations. While the details have been largely kept secret, here are some facts and figures about what has been dubbed the wedding of the century. The wedding is expected to cost about $46 to $55 million, according to the president of the Veneto regional government, Luca Zaia. Local media reported that Bezos will make sizable charity donations, including over $1 million for Corilla, an academic consortium that studies Venice's lagoon ecosystem. While the day and the venue for the ceremony itself are still confidential, the main party is slated for Saturday at the historical Arsenale. The highly fortified area is surrounded by water and impossible to reach by land when connecting bridges are raised. The first private jets arrived on Tuesday. Zaia said around 90 are expected. 5 of the city's most luxurious hotels have been booked out to host an expected 200 to 250 guests. Among them will be U.S. President Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner, who arrived on Tuesday. The organizers also booked at least 30 water taxis from different companies for the wedding guests.